You know, I keep saying I'll start posting regularly again, and every single time I vanish like an Italian cruiser in its own smoke screen. But hey, I'm back this time for real, and Wargaming just dropped something that's actually worth talking about. Yep, there's a brand new Tier 9 Italian premium cruiser on the horizon, the Messina, and no, it's not another Napoli copy-paste situation. Though, let's be honest, that's what we all thought when we first saw the name. So the ship, based on a heavy cruiser's hull, looks sleek, fast, and just as dramatic as you'd expect from anything Italian. The Messina rocks 952mm dual-purpose main battery guns, all in 3 triple turrets. And before you ask, yeah, it only fires semi-armor piercing shells. No high explosive, no armor piercing, just pure spam baby. But don't let that fool you, those shells can dish out some serious punishment over medium range, especially if you're the type who likes playing peekaboo behind islands and keeping your enemies guessing where you'll pop up next. Combine that with her surprisingly solid concealment and cruiser-level top speed, and you've got a ship that's built for fast flanks, stealthy ambushes, and rapid repositioning when things start going sideways, which, let's be real, they usually do. But this isn't just a one-trick pony. Messina also packs torpedoes on both sides, and they actually hurt like delete half an enemy battleship kind of hurt. On top of that, she's got an upgraded hydroacoustic search with longer range, meaning you can sniff out those pesky destroyers before they ruin your day. And the cherry on top? That good old Italian exhaust smoke generator, perfect for getting up close and personal or pulling a Houdini when you realize maybe charging a Kremlin wasn't the best idea after all. Alright, so let's get into this brand new spicy meatball of a ship, the Messina. On paper, it feels like Wargaming looked at Napoli and said, what if we made something smaller, faster, and slightly allergic to overextending, and then somehow turned that idea into a Tier 9 cruiser? Messina isn't really a traditional Italian heavy cruiser. It's more of a hybrid that sits awkwardly between a light cruiser's agility and a heavy cruiser's punch. Not quite a Napoli, not quite a Brindisi, more like the strange cousin who shows up at family gatherings and still manages to steal the show. Let's start with survivability, because it's not exactly her strong suit. Messina has 43,600 hit points, which compared to other Tier 9 cruisers like Alaska, Drake, or Dmitry Donskoy, is, let's say, modest. Her 25mm plating means she's not taking any serious hits without consequences. You can survive a few destroyer shells, maybe bounce a cruiser salvo or two, but a battleship looking at you broadside will erase you faster than you can hit the repair button. But with that thin armor and only 19% torpedo protection, she's not made to tank, she's made to dodge, maneuver, and disappear before the enemy figures out where the shells came from. Now, the main guns are where things start to get interesting. She's rocking 9 152mm dual-purpose guns arranged in 3 triple turrets with a 16.8km firing range. The catch? She only fires SAP shells. No high explosive spam, no armor-piercing citadel hunting, just SAP. And these things hit surprisingly hard. Each shell deals up to 3,850 damage with 42mm of penetration and a 945 misscast velocity, which gives them a very flat and comfortable trajectory. You can easily hit agile targets without needing to aim half a kilometer into the sky, which is already an upgrade compared to the floaty shells of something like Drake or St. Louis. The reload time of 8 seconds is solid too, not lightning fast but fast enough that you can keep steady pressure on enemies at medium range. The SAP damage output adds up quickly, especially against cruisers and destroyers who think they can angle against you. And while you won't overmatch any serious armor like battleships, you'll absolutely melt light and medium armor targets who underestimate you. That said, Messina isn't built for long-range sniping. With only 16.8km of range and a detectability of around 14km, you're working in that dangerous middle zone, close enough to be spotted easily, but far enough that you're not brawling yet. This is where her concealment and mobility come together beautifully. She's got the agility to reposition fast and the concealment to vanish when things go wrong, and her exhaust smoke generator turns that into a deadly combo. Pop the smoke, reposition, dump a salvo or two, and by the time the enemy's looking around, you're already halfway across the map, setting up your next ambush. And speaking of ambushes, those torpedoes. 2 quadruple launchers, 1 per side, with 8km range and 72 knots of speed. Each torpedo does over 20,000 damage. Yeah, that's not a typo, 20,000. These are the kind of torpedoes that make even battleships nervous. Their reload is on the slower side at 140 seconds. But when you line up a perfect salvo, you'll remind everyone why Italian cruisers are terrifying in close quarters. Her secondaries are mostly for show. 12 dual 90mm mounts with 7km range. They sound good on paper, but realistically they're there for decoration. Still, in close fights, every little bit helps, and the sound of secondaries firing never gets old anyway. Now for her AA. Messina's air defense is decent. Mid-range continuous damage sits at 347 with 90% accuracy, while long-range goes up to 238 with the same hit probability. You won't be deleting entire squadrons like a Sejong or an Alaska, but you're not defenseless either. You'll take down some planes, annoy the carrier, and maybe buy yourself enough time to smoke up or reposition before the next wave hits. Now here's where the ship really shines. Her mobility. A top speed of 37 knots, a 680-meter turning circle, and a 10.5-second rudder shift. That's fast. Really fast for a cruiser her size. You can get from one flank to another faster than most battleships can finish a turn. The agility lets you dance between shells, bait torpedoes, and control engagements on your terms. You'll still get punished if you show broadside, but the combination of speed and handling gives you all the tools to avoid getting into that situation in the first place. The consumables round out her versatility. You get the standard damage control party and repair party, which do what you expect. Then there's the exhaust smoke generator, which is the real star here. It lasts 40 seconds, giving you time to break line of sight or sneak up for a torpedo attack. Just don't waste it casually. It's your lifeline when things go sideways. The hydroacoustic search is excellent too, spotting ships at 6 kilometers and torpedoes at 4 kilometers. That's a long reach, and lets you push into caps confidently without worrying about hidden destroyers. On top of that, you've got a fighter consumable. Not game-changing, but it adds a small extra layer of safety from spotting and air attacks. So how does Messina actually stack up against the other Tier 9 cruisers? Against her Italian cousin Brindisi, Messina trades heavier firepower and range for better agility, smoke, and survivability tools. Against Napoli, she's much more mobile and stealthy, but lacks that tankiness and punch of the big 254mm guns. Compared to Alaska or Azuma, she's not competing on brute strength or range. Instead, she wins with clever positioning, quick strikes, and ambush tactics. Against ships like Sejong or Rune, Messina holds her ground surprisingly well. She can dodge, flank, and punish mistakes faster than most of them can react. Messina isn't your typical sit-back-and-farm cruiser. She's made for players who like to be active, who enjoy darting in and out of fights, taking risks, and punishing overconfident enemies. She's fast, she's sneaky, and when played right, she hits like a truck. But make no mistake, this isn't a ship for careless players. If you get greedy or overstay your welcome, you're going to explode faster than you can say torpedo in the water. In the right hands though, Messina feels like a ship that rewards skill, awareness, and a touch of chaos, all wrapped up in a stylish Italian package that looks great while blowing things up. Alright, so after going through everything Messina has to offer, I think we can safely say she's like that one friend who insists they're a jack of all trades but somehow manages to do everything at a solid B+. She's fast, she's got smoke, she's got torpedoes that hit like a truck, but she's also got armor so thin that if someone even sneezes SAP in her direction, you'll be back in port before your smoke screen fades. And the funniest part? She wants to brawl. She really does. She's got the tools for it, torps on both sides, improved hydro, good concealment, but the moment you actually try it, you realize you've just signed up for an early trip back to port. Chat explaining your tactical miscalculation. Messina is basically the middle child of the Italian cruiser family. Not as insane as Napoli, not as boring as Brindisi, but somewhere in that sweet spot where she can both farm damage and get herself into unnecessary trouble at the same time. If you play her smart, use her concealment, pop smoke to disengage, and never forget that semi-armor piercing only guns mean no high explosive fires to bail you out. She'll reward you with consistent damage and those beautiful 8K SAP slaps that make destroyers question their life choices. But if you think you're about to charge into a cap and outtrade a St. Louis or a Rune, like you're some sort of discount Goliath, then yeah, that's not happening. You'll just end up donating your ship to the ocean while someone in a battleship 17 kilometers away watches the whole thing unfold like premium entertainment. So, final verdict, Messina is fun, flexible, and surprisingly forgiving if you know how to play with positioning, but she's not going to carry you through pure survivability. She's more of a finesse ship, one that rewards awareness and punishes tunnel vision. A solid premium, not overpowered, not garbage, just comfortably good. And honestly, I think that's fine. Not every ship needs to be the next Napoli-level monster. Sometimes you just want to take something fast, sleek, and a little bit spicy out for a spin, and that's exactly what Messina is. She's the kind of ship that doesn't scream broken, but whispers you'll have fun until you don't. Anyway, that's my take on the new Italian Tier 9 cruiser Messina. If you're planning to grab her, just remember, go fast, slap hard, and for the love of all that's holy, don't broadside. See you next time, captains, assuming Messina's torpedoes don't find me first.